let's get into a little bit of politics discussion with our CBSN political contributor and Republican strategist Leslie Sanchez on the end, CBSN political contributor and Democratic strategist and former communications director for Tim Kaine, Linda Tran, and also joining us, Republican strategist and pollster Frank Luntz. Good to see you, Frank.
Thank you.
All right, so we heard from Trump earlier today suggesting Russians should hack Hillary Clinton's email and that Putin has referred to President Obama by the N-word. I want to play a little bit of that sound so that we hear exactly what he said. Take a listen.
What do I have to get involved with Putin for? I have nothing to do with Putin. I've never spoken to him. I don't know anything about him other than he will respect me. He doesn't respect our president. And if it is Russia, which is probably not, nobody knows who it is, but if it is Russia, it's really bad for a different reason. Because it shows how little respect they have for our country when they would hack into a major party and get everything. But it would be interesting to see. I will tell you this. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
All right, Frank, what do you make of those comments?
I don't know.
And how do you think they'll play with voters?
I think they're going to be forgotten in the next few hours. I saw the lineup, and this is strange for a Republican to say this, but I saw tonight's lineup, and it is really strong.
You mean the lineup here at the DNC?
At the DNC, yeah. And so it's just another press conference, just another distraction, and I think people are going to be tuning in tonight to hear what, not just what Hillary Clinton stands for, but what the Democratic Party stands for. Their vision, their specifics. You heard a lot from the Republicans about what was wrong and what should be changed. Tonight, Democrats have their shot.
Leslie, though, the Clinton camp released a statement, and they say, you know, this is unprecedented in that a political opponent is calling for a foreign power to hack their emails. Is that what Trump was really doing, or was it just an off-the-cuff remark? You know, he's just sort of talking and blowing off steam as he does, and his supporters don't really care that he mentioned that. They actually probably encourage it.
It's almost like a rap, you know, there's like a rhythm to it. He just kind of gets going.
Just gets going.
He does get going, and watching that, it almost seemed just kind of a whimsical, weird, off-the-cuff remark. And I thought more interesting was former Speaker Newt Gingrich came out and said, look, the media is more focused on the joke he said about, you know, hacking, the Russians hacking, than they were covering the actual fact that 33,000 emails are missing.
But so, you're a strategist. I mean, and that's a question I just asked Sean Spicer, who's the communications director for the RNC. Is that what you want your client, your candidate, the person that you hope will be elected president of the United States to be doing when they're out on the campaign trail? Just making off-the-cuff remarks that in some cases have national security implications?
Not at all. I mean, that's a nightmare. That's why it's really difficult for anybody to manage that kind of communication situation. Part of a communication strategy is to have a very measured approach. You keep them within the guardrails. We want to talk about these three things, advance this issue. They're the two distinct things. He does, one, get in front of the media a lot, so they get an opportunity to really weave together a longer set of stories that he's putting out there. He talked about so many different things. The only effective thing he's done, though, so far is change the conversation. We're spending a lot of time talking about Trump on a night when, like Frank talked about, there's a big Democratic lineup. All
right, but Linda, to be fair, Republicans are saying, and many Americans are also saying, look, the Clinton campaign is now worried about national security. They should have been concerned about that before Hillary Clinton decided to set up a private email server in her home, and this is just spin off a remark that Mr. Trump made to reporters, which is maybe he might think is off the cuff. What do you say to that?
Maybe so, but we also have former CIA Director Leon Panetta saying that what Trump said today just goes far beyond the pale and really tells you everything you need to know about this guy, and he wants to be our commander-in-chief. I mean, I totally agree with Leslie, and I think that the issue is this is really just a standard play from the Donald Trump playbook. You know, we've got the Democratic National Convention going on this week. He doesn't like the fact that all the attention is focused here. He wants to redirect it to himself. And the thing is, it's not going to impact his base. They don't care. But what I would say, clearly as a Democratic strategist, is who it should concern is everybody else. I mean, here is a guy who's told you time after time after time exactly who he is. He's encouraging Russians to hack us. There you go. I mean, you got to take that into account.
Hold on. She put her server in her house when she was explicitly told, don't do it. She said that she turned over all of her emails when the FBI director says, no, she did not. She said that she has been completely open and honest on this and the FBI director, the independent FBI, who said, don't indict her, but he said that she committed serious malfeasance. Donald Trump made an offhanded comment about the Russians. She, for 4 years, behaved this way. So let's put this in perspective. He said something stupid. She did something stupid.
Linda?
The findings of the investigation said that she was careless. It did not say that she committed some serious...
She wasn't indicted, but he said she was grossly negligent and
Extremely careless.
But I have to say that every time we hear Donald Trump open his mouth, he says something that is, just as I said, Leon Panetta said, completely beyond the pale. Ultimately, he wants to represent this country, and he's out there trying to incite fear. He's trying to be divisive. He's inviting other nations to come in and attack us.
So here's
That's
the
not
issue.
who I want to be in the Oval Office.
It's what he says versus what she's done. And I will tell you that if that's the context of this election, then she will lose. It can't be that. And what I'm waiting for from the Clinton campaign, because I'll tell you, as a Republican strategist sometimes, used to be, sometimes this guy says things that you cannot defend.
Sure.
You should be willing to say that, and on Hillary's side as well. There's no authenticity there. There's no candor. Donald Trump runs to a TV camera. I don't even know which camera's on now. Point to me so I can actually look at the viewers. This one here? Donald Trump runs. I'm still pointing at the wrong camera. Donald Trump runs to you. He just... the most dangerous place in Washington, D.C. is 12 feet between Donald Trump and a TV camera. The second most dangerous place is when Hillary Clinton is running away from the TV cameras. We need someone to do something in the middle. Give Americans the right to be heard. Answer their legitimate questions. Be challenged by the media. Don't do it every day.
But I don't disagree with that, and I would say she did say she made a mistake. She shouldn't have done it the way that she did it. That's true. One problem we have with Donald Trump, though, is we don't entirely know what he's done. The man won't even release his tax returns, so we don't even know.
But why do you? This is my favorite song.
Everybody who doesn't love the theme to Rocky.
Rocky, yes.
I mean, it's like actually.
Gonna fly now. We're having a discussion here. Let's take off the gloves.
But why do you always, every time, and we've been on this show, and this is the first time I actually felt this way. You and I have been sitting next to each other. Why every time we say something that independent experts have said have been a problem, you always pivot to Donald Trump?
Because this is not Hillary Clinton against herself. It's Hillary Clinton against Donald Trump. And at the end of the day, the American voters are going to have to make a choice between the two. And all I'm saying is that from my perspective, given all of the challenges that Hillary Clinton may or may not have had, and I do actually think she's had a significant number of challenges all along the way, we've talked about it a ton over the course of the last several months. At the end of the day, if the choice is between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, I think Donald Trump is extraordinarily dangerous for this country. And it's something that's important for the viewers at home to know.
So let me give you one statistic. 81% of Americans believe that America is less safe today than it was 7.5 years ago. And we were in the middle of Iraq. We had all sorts of challenges. They look at Iran. They look at North Korea. They look at Russia. They look at Ukraine. They look at all that's happening in the Middle East, Libya. And they say that I'm afraid. They are afraid. She was Secretary of State for 4 of those 7.5 years. Her policies have been in play for all 7.5 of those years. So if this is a national security issue, as the Clinton campaign says, once again, don't focus on what people say. Focus on what people have done.
And that is one of her challenges, right, Leslie? I mean, on one hand, the experience is what she's up there touting. She's saying she has the experience to be the commander-in-chief because she's been in the Situation Room with President Obama. She's been with the president and other national security leaders when they've had to make tough decisions. On the other hand, people say, well, yeah, and a lot of those decisions have led to some of the problems we see right now in our country, so I don't like that. And this guy may not know what he's talking about when he's talking to reporters, but he says that he's against the Iran deal. He says that the decisions that were made about Libya were wrong. He says that we shouldn't allow refugees to come to this country. Whether or not you believe that, some people are responding to that, and his numbers are not going down when he says these things. They actually either stay stable or they go up.
And the Muslim ban was a perfect example of that. Most traditional politicians ran away from that idea, and it soared with the voters. And I know Frank could probably talk about that. It was very consistent. I think there is selective amnesia. All politicians have it, but this is something she's being tethered back to Benghazi Benghazi and a lot of these other issues. And I think Frank and Melinda actually both lay it out correctly. It is an issue and a contrast of temperament versus corruption. And one is authentic and one appears and continues to appear inauthentic. So for that reason, that's what this is all fundamentally come down to. And on the Panetta thing, the only thing I want to disclose is that he's also an advisor to Clinton. So it's not like he's unbiased in his charges that he's saying out there. He still has the halo of CIA, but he certainly is biased.
And this is part of the problem, which is that every network news program has people on one side and people on the other side. And so you hear the battling back and forth.
Right.
But nobody actually presents it in an independent, unbiased, straightforward fashion. By the way, I was watching on your monitor here as we were talking about Clinton and national security, and you have all these pictures of Clinton at speeches and at conventions. Why not a picture of her with Putin? Why not a picture? She traveled more miles than I did in her 4 years.
Right.
Show her in her foreign policy rather than just playing politics.
Note for the control room and our producers in the control room. So I want to ask one final question, though. So here, Frank, you've been here the last couple of days. You were in Cleveland. We all were in Cleveland. One of the things, and I want to hear what you've discovered in some of your focus groups, I'm struck by the diversity here in this crowd vis-a-vis the lack of diversity we saw at the convention in Cleveland. Now, I'm not trying to say that one party is one way and another. I'm just talking about what I saw with my own eyes. Has the Republican Party moved to a point right now where some of the things that were prescribed after 2012, that autopsy report that was done, that they've just decided, look, we're not even going to try and do some of those things anymore because Trump is appealing to a swath of the electorate that we think that we can court and we can actually win with in November, so forget all that other stuff.
I sat here all last night, and everything was about women, women, women. They represent 51% of the population, and I understand it, I get it, but it's all daughters, women, daughters. There's nothing wrong with that, but in the end, shouldn't we be about all Americans, not just female Americans, not just moms, not just professional women, but everyone? There's so many more people of color here. This looks much more like America
here.
Than the Republican. But the difference with the Republicans, which they've never had before, there were so many new delegates, and so many of them had trouble affording going to the convention because for the first time, they had genuine working class voters as Trump delegates.
Interesting.
I don't see that here. So I do see diversity, but I see wealthy diversity. Back there, I didn't see diversity. But I saw people.
But you saw working class people struggling to make ends meet.
Who were delegates and representatives for the very first time.
I mean, I know some of the people that are down there, and many of them are members of the labor movement. They're working class people, and part of the reason why they are fighting so hard for a $15 minimum wage is because that's also something that would help them and their own families. So I think it's a bridge too far to say that the crowd at the Democratic National Convention looks wealthy. I mean, the reality is there are tons of working people down there, and that's the fight.
I was at the Ritz-Carlton, and you cannot get up to the bar. You cannot get a reservation. Maybe you can help me get a reservation.
And that's the difference, as you would know, between a focus group and a survey.
Yeah. I could not get there. Please help me get a drink at the Ritz-Carlton bar, please. Somebody out there will help Frank. Somebody out there, if you're watching, tweet us, help Frank get a drink at the Ritz-Carlton bar. All right. We're going to thank our panel.
First world problems.
Yeah, exactly. First world problems indeed.
And I don't drink. I just want to Diet Coke. That's all.
Leslie Sanchez, Linda Trent, Frank Luntz, we thank you all very much.